Open the hearing on House Bill 2401 with the staff report, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, Desiree Omley, OPR staff. House Bill 2401 creates the Washington State Boys and Men's Commission. As I referenced in my bill analysis, the state has established a variety of agencies that focus on the needs of underrepresented populations and those with lived experience. Some examples are the Commission on Hispanic Affairs, the LGBTQ Commission, Women's Commission, Commission on African American Affairs, and the Office of Equity. House Bill 2401 establishes the Washington Boys and Men's Commission as a standalone independent agency contingent upon the receipt of non-state contributions in an amount sufficient to fully fund the operations of the commission through December 31st, 2029. The Office of Financial Management is required to determine the amount by fiscal year that would be necessary to fully fund the operating costs, and OFM is required to seek non-state contributions and notify the interested parties whether that amount is reached within that required timeframe. If established, the commission would consist of 9 members appointed by the governor, with at least 1 member being from a federally recognized Indian tribe, and a majority of the members self-identifying as male. The bill sets forth a handful of duties for the commission as detailed in the bill analysis. To name a few, the commission is tasked with identifying and defining specific needs of men and boys of color, those in rural locations, those who identify as LGBTQ, and those who are socioeconomically disadvantaged. It's also tasked with advocating for policies that increase the sense of belonging and decrease isolation and loneliness experienced by men and boys. And it's tasked with advising agencies on the development and implementation of comprehensive and coordinated policies, plans, programs that focus on the unique needs of men and boys. The commission will be required to submit a report every 2 years, beginning December 31st, 2029, on its activities. A fiscal note has been requested, but not yet received.
Representative Berg.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. My name is Representative April Berg from the 44th Legislative District. Chair Minna, Ranking Member Waters, thank you so much, committee, for hearing this bill this morning. I'll just start with, this is not a tax bill. There's no taxes in this bill, and you might be asking yourself, why is the tax lady coming to you with a bill around social policy? And so I will tell you, this bill is deeply personal to me. As the widow of a man who committed suicide, and as the mother of a Black son, seeing our boys and men thrive in community is at the utmost top of mind for me each and every day. I do also want to say something clearly about this bill, that it's not about centering men at the expense of women. It's not about rolling back hard-fought progress for anyone. It is about refusing to ignore a growing set of problems that are harming our boys and men, and in turn, families and communities, and it's truly ripping apart our social fabric. Across our state, boys and men are falling behind in ways that should concern us all. We see it in educational outcomes, where boys are more likely to struggle academically and disengage from school. We see it in health statistics, where men face higher rates of suicide, substance abuse disorder, untreated mental health conditions. We see it in our criminal legal system, where men, particularly men of color, are overrepresented at every stage. And we see it in our workforce outcomes, where too many men are disconnected from stable employment opportunities. Our state, Washington State, is defined by innovation, opportunity, and rapid growth. But we're also a state where disconnection has quietly become a defining challenge. Our state sits at the intersection of a tech-driven economy, with high rates of new residents moving here every day, and a culture that many people kind of call the Seattle freeze. This combination can make it deeply difficult to build belonging, maintain community, and to ask for help, especially for our men, who are raised with narrow expectations of what it means to be masculine. These expectations teach men that they need to be strong but not vulnerable, independent but not ask for support. HB 2401 does not pretend that there is a single cause or a single solution for the problems facing our boys and men. Instead, it creates a commission to do careful, thoughtful work of bringing together researched, lived experience, and cross-agency expertise. This commission would focus on improving mental health outcomes, expanding access to education and vocational pathways, reducing stigma that is around seeking help, and it will address the pervasive crisis of loneliness that so many of our boys and men are experiencing. The Commission emphasizes lived experience and requires accountability through reporting to the legislature. I also do want to note that this commission will be funded with gifts and grants for the first 3 years, after which the legislature can renew this model or decide to invest state funds into the commission. This work is not happening in a silo. The bill explicitly requires coordination with our existing women's, LGBTQ, and ethnic commissions because these issues are truly interconnected. When men have access to mental health care without stigma, rates of gender-based violence decline. When boys are supported in school and mentorship, communities become safer and more stable. When fathers and male caregivers can show up for their families' lives, everyone benefits. Our state has a strong history of leading with care and foresight. This bill gives us a chance to do that once more by acknowledging a growing crisis among our boys and men and choosing compassion, evidence, and collaboration over inaction. Madam Chair, I commend this bill to you.
Thank you, Representative Berg. Any questions for the prime sponsor? Seeing none, thank you. We will now suspend the hearing on House Bill 2401, and we will reopen the hearing on House Bill 2401. Thank you all for your patience. Looking forward to hearing from you. Vice Chair Stearns?
We have a number of people. So we will start with Gerry Grubbs, and he is in person, and then we'll take remotely Kimber Erickson and Jose Romo Ramirez.
Do I have 1 minute?
Yes, we'll proceed with 1 minute for everybody.
Great. Thank you. I'll be quick. My name is Gerry Grubbs, and I'm a superintendent in Mason County, a small school district, and I come representing my district and my wife, who is an assistant superintendent in a large district locally. We feel strongly that we need to support this issue. In 33 years, my work working with challenging students in special ed and juvenile detention and dropout recovery programs speaks to me strongly to recognize that we need some other solutions to help our boys and men. I have 5-year-olds that are struggling in first grade, and we need ideas and help and support. It's not just me as a superintendent. The current article from the NEA says, how do we help boys, in their recent publication, and the National Principals Association, an article in their current magazine stating, how do we help the boys and men? And so we need some solutions and we need some help. So please support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll just, we actually don't allow props in committee, so that's totally, but just as a reminder for everyone else as you come up. Thank you. Okay, who do we have next? We have remote testifiers.
Kimber and Jose.
Please proceed.
Hi, my name is Kimber Erickson. I am from Spokane, Washington, and I am the executive director and founder of the Kellen Cares Foundation, which we started in memory and to honor our son Kellen, who we lost by suicide exactly 6 years today. Our mission is to help boys and young men and their families with mental health issues navigate it. We felt very alone when we were dealing with it, and Kellen thought he was the only person that had feelings that he was having. So we want to reduce the stigma and just bring awareness and education. And this bill is going to help not just be a reaction to the crisis. It's going to help intervene before crisis, and we are highly in support of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Harrison, so much for your testimony. Mr. Ramirez.
Good morning. My name's Jose Romo Ramirez, originally from Mexico. I live in Maple Valley. This bill is very personal to me. It actually has really inspired me to know that change is possible to help save lives. Let me start. I am a survivor of a partner whose family has had generational isolation, depression, and most recently suicides, which has led me to do a lot of advocacy work. And personally, I do a birthing class for men, and it's one of the first times I've ever heard trauma men healing. And I do this class because it's a need. I spent over 20 years working in public health in the WIC program, and males are always left out. And we seem to have this growing issue of depression, isolation. I personally suffer a disconnect with my personal father, which has led me to do this class that I do for young expecting dads, because the healing is in early relational health. If we can have an attachment and a relation founded with love before the birth and continue, then that healing for the male is everything. I know I'm short of time. I wish I could have a lot more, but I am very, very much in support of this bill, as it will help generational trauma. Thank you.
Gracias, Senor Ramirez. And you can always follow up with us in writing so you can share more information with us.
Con gusto.
We have Richard Pelman and Paula Fillmore-Sardinas on remotely.
My name is Dr. Richard Pelman. I'm a clinical professor emeritus, Department of Urology, University of Washington School of Medicine. I serve as the chair of the Committee on Men's Health for the Washington State Urologist Society. I am an immediate past delegate to the American Urological Association, to the American Medical Association House of Delegates. My testimony today is on behalf of myself as an individual, on behalf of the Washington State Urologist Society. Our society represents urologists around Washington State in an effort to improve patient care. Please accept my gratitude to the sponsors and to this committee for bringing forth House Bill 2401. The Washington State Urology Society supports all legislative efforts to establish a commission for boys and men. History in our society is that in 1996, I was able to initiate a program through the WSUS to improve the health of men. Despite multiple campaigns, men are still behind. I have previously forwarded information to you. In this regard, the WSUS, Washington State Urology Society, thus requests an amendment to HB 2401 that would include the improvement of boys and men's physical health as one of its goals. Men's health is family health, and if a man is lost to the workforce due to illness or injury, a family on the borderline income may move into poverty, or if the man is solo and without family, he may be forced into homelessness.
Thank you.
Health-related preventive measures are proven to be economically
Thank you for your
superior.
testimony. I apologize. Great. And please follow up with us if there's more you'd like to share, and I apologize for how short-handed we are on time.
Thank you.
Paula Fillmore-Sardinas.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, and Ranking Member Paula Fillmore-Sardinas for the Washington Build Back Black Alliance, but I'm also a mother, proud mother of 2 Black Latino sons. My oldest son was diagnosed with post-traumatic disorder. My youngest son is both gay and bipolar. I share that because I watch us time and time pour resources into meaningful treatment and opportunities for young girls, and I've been proud to advocate for that. But we have to also acknowledge that young men need mentorship, they need affirmation, they need culturally responsible support so that they also can grow and develop to their fullest potential. That's what this bill does. It extends the same grace, intentionality, and investment into men and boys, particularly young men of color and young men that identify as LGBTQ, that we've invested into our girls, young men grappling with violence, gang exposure, trauma, growing up too fast. This is a very unique program because it doesn't require state funding. We found those matching funds, and I'm happy to work with you as a former commissioner of the African American Affairs on how we can move this good bill forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, we will proceed to Alex Craighead, Heather Kurtenbach, and Jen Shevitz, who I believe are all here.
Hello, committee members. My name is Alex Craighead from Vashon Island, and I'm the co-founder and executive director for Journeyman Institute, helping boys become wholehearted men through mentorship and rites of passage. For the past 20 years, I've been a teacher, mentor, and coach, and it's clear to me that boys and men are struggling, from loneliness and isolation to addiction, suicide, violence. The writing's on the wall. we need to do something different to support our boys and men through our institutions. My hope is that we can go upstream and take a coordinated statewide approach to support boys and men, not just reacting to crisis, but really trying to strengthen their protective factors to help people thrive. And it doesn't just benefit boys and men. It helps families, schools, workplaces, and communities. I've seen it firsthand through our work with journeymen. When a boy has access to mentorship and a true sense of belonging and purpose, it changes his life, and it benefits the whole community. I so appreciate Rep. Berg and the other sponsors of this bill, and I think we have an opportunity here to be leaders in this country and really transform our communities by passing this bill to start a commission for boys and men. Thank you.
Hello, committee members. I'm Jen Shevitz. I live in Everett. My husband and I are the parents of a 22-year-old daughter and two sons, 15 and 17. I am also the program coordinator for the local Seattle region of the nonprofit Let Me Run, an elementary boys social, emotional, and mental health run club. I strongly support the creating of the Boys and Men Commission and very clearly see the need for advocacy for boys, particularly in the areas of education, mental health, and lack of mentors. Our current one-size-fits-all educational model is failing our boys. By requiring identical learning styles across all students, we inadvertently penalize fundamental male developmental needs when boys are made to feel that their natural way of being is deficit. They become isolated, leading to devastating mental health outcomes we see today. A dedicated commission would provide data-driven legitimacy required that we nonprofits need to secure community and philanthropic support necessary to reach every boy in need. We must ensure the boys of today and the men of tomorrow know that they are seen, that they matter, and that their success is a priority for the state. I urge you to support the creation of this commission to raise up our entire community together.
Thank you, Chair Mena, Ranking Member Waters, and members of the committee. Heather Kurtenbach here on behalf of the Washington State Building Trades, again, still representing thousands of skilled workers across the state of Washington. Here today in strong support of House Bill 2401 because this bill speaks directly to a crisis we see every day in the trades. Men are struggling and too many are losing their lives because of it. We talk a lot about job site safety, and we should, but the biggest danger our workers face, it isn't the fall or the equipment, it's what happens when they go home at night. In 2023, there were 982 fatal job site injuries among construction workers across the country. That's tragic enough, but in that same year, 15,910 construction workers died from overdoses and 5,095 died by suicide. The numbers tell a story, one of pain, isolation, and a lack of support. This bill gives us a chance to finally face that head on. A Boys and Men's Commission can help us understand what's driving these trends and build real solutions, connecting education, workforce programs, mental health services, so young men have purpose, support, and hope. And this isn't about politics, it's really about saving lives. The building trades are ready to be a part of the solution, and this bill, I feel, gives us a seat at the table to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a question for this panel. Vice Chair Stearns.
Thank you, Chair. Heather, I was just wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit more about what this could do in terms of giving hope for your membership.
So thank you for the question, Rep. Stearns. So right now, what I'm seeing in amongst the people that I represent is a lack of hope. We hear there's a lack of jobs. The political climate is tense. Folks have been out of work for a long time, some over 2 years. They've lost their unemployment. They've lost their health care. They're taking second jobs, driving for Uber Eats and Amazon just to feed their families. They don't know where to go when they're struggling. So, struggling mental health. A lot of folks that I represent don't know where to go. I mean, some of our unions have employee assistance programs, but I don't think that really gets at the heart of what the issues are. And I feel like having something like a Boys and Men's Commission, a place where they could go, would be really beneficial.
Madam Chair, we will now call Richard Reeves and Sean Kullman, who are both remote, and then we'll come back to in-person.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. I'm Richard Reeves. I'm a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, and I'm president of the American Institute for Boys and Men, testifying in support of House Bill 2401. It's a pioneering effort. It echoes similar efforts in California, Utah, Michigan, and Maryland, although in many ways it goes further than those, who in different ways are addressing the challenges of boys and men. As the bill and other testifiers note, these are real and urgent challenges. Our research shows they do not strike all boys and men equally, so a sensitivity to differences by class, region, sexual orientation, race, and ethnicity is vital, as the bill recognizes. Crucially, supporting boys and men is not a zero-sum game. we can and must in all states continue to do more for women and girls. And I'm particularly pleased that the new commission will work with the existing and impressive Women's Commission and other commissions in the state. Especially valuable here is the move to institutionalize attention and to spur action, create a lasting evidence-focused forum that can study problems and identify constructive solutions so we can rise together. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Let's hear from our other testifier, and then we may have questions for you.
My name is Sean Kullman, and I completed the first state report on the status of boys and men in Washington State several years ago. And that report is the preamble of why we are here today. I'm also the co-author of Boys a Rescue Plan with one of Washington's most successful innovators in helping boys and girls thrive. I'm delighted to see Washington State taking up the issue of boys and men. And I also believe it is important that Washingtonians know that there are two bills and that it is critical to make sure bills 2401 and 2461 both receive hearings so that there is a more complete understanding. Bill 2401 does not address critical root causes impacting boys and men. Fatherlessness is a pressing problem, and Bill 2401 does not specifically address fatherlessness. Not doing so will disenfranchise hundreds of thousands of boys, girls, mothers, grandmothers, and grandfathers in Washington State. It's also important to note that all boys and men of all races are behind their female counterparts in education and physical and mental health, and often across racial lines. Not including the term biological sex in House Bill 2401 will ignore a critical root cause. And I think it is important that we acknowledge those things so that both our boys and our girls can thrive. I definitely want to see that happen. But I really encourage the committee to hear both bills so that the public has a more complete understanding. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your testimony. Do we have questions for either of our two remote testifiers? Representative Chase.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this could be for either of you, but I think it's strange that more soldiers commit suicide now than actually perish in these wars or undeclared wars. And what's the phenomena do you think has changed all that? It's like an epidemic.
I'll answer. The suicide rate, as the bill notes, is 4 times higher among men than it is among women. Our own research suggests that it's actually risen particularly sharply among young men, and actually is now being driven by rising suicide rates among young men. The best evidence suggests that a sense of being unneeded, lacking connection and belonging, I think as many other testifiers have noted, seem to be particularly big risk factors for suicide rates among men. And so to the extent that men feel connected and needed, that seems to be a big protective factor. One of the things we find with veterans is that having lost perhaps the clear sense of purpose that a mission gives is that they are in search of the next mission. And it's one of the reasons why veterans groups also need our support.
It's important to recognize, thank you for that, Richard. I think it is important to recognize that men need to feel connected. I also think it's critical to understand that there are male and female differences in how emotions are processed and how people respond to trauma and depression and despair.
Thank you. Seeing no further questions, Vice Chair Stearns.
Madam Chair, we will now proceed to Billy Heatherington, Blair Daly, and Joe Cook.
All right. Good morning, Chair Mena and Ranking Member Waters and members of other members of the committee. My name is Billy Heatherington, Political Director for Liona Local 242, and here in strong support for 2401. I'm a second-generation laborer and I've been a member of Liona for 25 years, spending 15 of those years out in the industry that has traditionally been male-dominated, but one that is making strides towards diversity and inclusion. Through that experience and through coaching youth baseball and wrestling, I've seen firsthand the challenges this generation of boys and men are facing, particularly around addiction, behavioral health, and isolation. Too often, young men are told to tough it out, stay quiet, or handle things on their own. If we want to make young males and those older role models they look up to feel more comfortable talking about the struggles they face, the state should lead the way on this. This commission matters because it helps make those conversations acceptable, visible, and supported. I stand here today struggling in the past myself and having helped others through really dark moments. That's why Liona, the District Council of Laborers, has created a suicide awareness packet. I know we're not supposed to do props, but because we recognize this issue. So please support 2401. Thank you.
Well, I'm not gaveling people, but I'm asking folks to try to refrain from using props. Please proceed.
Chairman, Vice Chair Stearns, Ranking Member Waters, members of the committee. My name is Blair Daly. I live in Redmond, and I lead Washington Initiative for Boys and Men. Since 2021, we've been carrying out advocacy, raising awareness about boys and men's issues. We're constantly growing the coalition of nonprofit organizations, labor unions, community leaders, men and women from all corners of the state who see the vision for this bill, which is that everyone stands to benefit from a commission on boys and men, the work that this commission would do. There are a range of issues where our male population is experiencing disparities. The first bill I ever testified on was one about creating youth suicide review teams, and I noticed that no one was acknowledging that 4 out of 5 youth suicides are boys and young men. In my view, creating a Boys and Men Commission will extend our state's commitment to equity to include boys and men as boys and men. We can aspire to a society where sex and gender are not predictors of poor life outcomes like living unsheltered on the streets and dying deaths of despair. Thank you for hearing this bill, and please pass it out of committee.
Hi, good morning, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Joseph Cook, and I live in Kirkland, and I also work with Blair on advocacy for Washington Initiative for Boys and Men. My connection to this work centers mainly around my engagement with youth. I'm a youth leader at my church and also a mentor in my community. As many others have testified already during this hearing, these issues affecting our boys and men I encounter on a daily basis. And I have great concern for the direction we're currently heading in. It's a little tough to talk about, but actually very recently in our community, a young man, a beloved member of our community, actually did attempt to take his life earlier this week. And he's not the first a young person in our community that's done it this year. So I'm deeply moved by the fact that this commission will hopefully be tackling some of those issues head on and allowing young men a voice and a place to speak about the issues that they're affecting. I believe these listening sessions that are laid out will provide the proper platform for these young men to be heard. And so I really believe that this commission will, again, provide public and private leaders the type of platform to significantly improve these outcomes for young men. And I'm very, very thankful for you guys willing to let me here testify. Thank you.
I do have a question for anyone on this panel, but I think primarily because of your testimony. What do you attribute maybe we've heard the suicide rate for youth that identify as male is 4 times higher than for girls. What do you attribute that to in your personal experience?
Yeah, I think I'll take a first shot and then I'll be completely open for the other gentleman to speak. But I think right now, very similar also to what Richard Reeves said earlier in his testimony, there is a lack of belonging and a lack of connection that many young men and men in general are feeling right now. And I think Rep. Berg in her opening remarks also spoke about us being a tech center here in Seattle. And so there's a great responsibility I think we have with the current tech that we have in this state, because there's a lot of great things that have come through with things like social media, which I think provide great access and opportunity potentially to connect individuals. But we're seeing, I think, in many scenarios, it actually is causing some young people to actually feel more isolated as they actually drive deeper into their own little knotholes of their own either political ideologies or personal ideologies that actually lead them to believe that they're in a silo by themselves. And so I think we have a very unique chance here in the state to really be a leader in this space and provide a better pathway forward to connect young people in a way that's meaningful and provides value to everyone in society.
If you're asking specifically what explains the disparity between rates of suicide between young men and young women, I think it is important to acknowledge methods of attempting suicide. So firearms are more common for young men to use. I think it is easy and right to say that we need to encourage young men to talk about their feelings, to be more emotionally fluent. Let Me Run, Journeyman Institute, these organizations are doing that. They have really high quality curriculum that are informed by both nature and nurture is what I'll say. Brain science is important, but also acknowledging how we nurture our youth are important. And so there are people with great expertise to explain these different rates of suicide, but method of attempting suicide and the lethality of those methods is one of the differences.
I think they said it all.
Yeah, Representative Dolio?
Yeah, I think that's really interesting and likely true. It also appears that young girls actually have more suicidal ideation than young men, but young men are more successful at carrying through. So that's a real concern to me. Can you speak a little bit more to that, please?
One thing I heard that was remarkable to me was Often we want to look for what were the signs that we missed when someone completes suicide. There have been some studies showing that a fair portion of completed suicides, there weren't really many signs to miss. These were individuals that actually didn't have any engagement with mental health care professionals. Sorry, I'm blanking, but hopefully that helps.
Yeah, but excuse me, go ahead. Excuse me. No, I was just to add to that, but I think as we've talked about earlier, when we provide more access to men's mental health and allow men to be able to be in these programs from an earlier age and start to address some of those stigmas, we do believe potentially that'll provide illumination for us to see those signs earlier and get people the help they need earlier. So that's just my only comment to that. But I agree with Blair that it's a multifaceted thing, and I hope this commission can bring in experts to help us address these issues.
Further questions for this Representative Chase?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I belong to the Spokane Fatherhood Initiative, and we work with a lot of young men. But it seems like they really don't have the role of provider anymore that historically they did have. And it's sort of like a loss of a sense of purpose. And either they had a no father or an abusive father, too, seems to be one of the things. Could you comment on that? Am I on the right track?
Certainly, fathers are extremely, extremely important in the well-being of their sons and daughters. Having a sense of identity as provider is important to many men, and we shouldn't ignore that. Spokane Fatherhood Initiative does tremendous work, and they are one of the many nonprofit organizations that have come together with really diverse points of view. This is something I want to emphasize. This coalition that I mentioned that we've been building for 5 years, both of individuals and organizations, is extremely diverse. It is very bipartisan. From where I sit, in helping advocate for this bill, I have no agenda to advance, a conservative or a liberal or a progressive or a Republican or a Democratic view of what the solutions are. I just aspire and would love for us to create something that brings together people who have this passion and lived experience and knowledge about boys and men to generate solutions.
Rep Chase, thank you for your work on that. I mean, myself, I don't have any kids, and I get out in the community as much as I can to try to be that role model. And I came out of the field to work in the apprenticeship space to try to be a role model. And I think that, helping men is somebody like myself that might have had, similar issues in my youth, but be a role model in the future. I mean, that's why it is a boys and a men's commission, because we want to tackle, we want to create role models as far and as long as create young boys into men as well. So.
Thank you. Thank you all for your testimony. Vice Chair Stearns.
Madam Chair, we have 3 more witnesses. Jeffrey Evans and Simon Thornton are both remote, and our final witness is Evan Wagoner-Lynch, who is here.
Hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Evan Wagoner, and I am a student at Evergreen State College, where I study community resiliency. I also work in the community holding grief events, especially for men, and I'm actually going to be leaving this committee to go to Bainbridge Island to hold a grief ritual today with about 25 men. What I wanted to share was something that we often share at grief events when we open them, which is, we'd be sitting in a circle kind of like this, and we share that attention is the healer. And when I think about what this commission really is, it is attention from the big collective, from the government, from the big we, to attend to issues unique to boys and men. And people are talking about belonging, all these other questions. Something that's really foundational to that is the sense that, do people care about me? Are people paying attention? And I think that's what's possible here if we start this commission. So I hope you'll pass it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for being here with so many things you have going on today. Let's turn to remote testifiers. I see Mr. Evans and Mr. Thornton. Let's go in that order whenever you're ready.
Jeff Evans. I'm Chief of Urology at Swedish Medical Center and currently serve as Chair of Health Policy for the Washington State Urology Society. I offered this testimony on behalf of myself and in support of the mission of the Washington State Urology Society. As has been presented, men are a vulnerable population across the lifespan. We have enjoyed being a privileged category in our society, but as presented are indeed a vulnerable population. Often men are less likely to seek care, ask for help, and often have difficulty navigating the healthcare system. Frequently, their partners do it on their behalf. And I routinely see that leading to delay in care, more advanced disease, higher costs, greater strain on families. These outcomes are not just about mental health, they're also about physical health. So I'm asking explicitly that we include physical health as to be added to the HB 2401. I see my time's running short, so I want to thank members of the panel and other presenters for their moving testimonies.
Thank you. Mr. Thornton?
Hello, my name is Simon Thornton. I'm an LGBT small business owner and homelessness advocate from Seattle, and I'm here today asking to support HB 2041, establishing a state commission for boys and men. As an advocate for the needs of the unhoused population, I cannot help but confront the fact that when I am distributing food and clothing to my unhoused neighbors, I'm handing the supplies primarily to men, and of the 5 overdoses I called in last year, 5 were men. I believe strongly in building an equitable society where everyone's needs are met and everyone's voice is heard. And I also understand how different parts of our identity can shape the challenges we face and how those challenges compound intersectionally. By taking a serious look at the current male experience and giving men a space to talk about the challenges they face, we can get a more complete picture of those issues affecting marginalized communities and work more effectively towards achieving equity. Working alongside the existing equity efforts of the ethnic and minority commissions, this bill is structured to require no state funding and will create a sustainable way to address disparities that are currently going unexamined. And for those reasons, I'm asking you to advance this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. I don't see questions for our last 2 testifiers. I just want to thank everyone who participated today and shared very personal stories. That's hard to do, but it does help us understand your perspective, so thank you for that. That concludes the testimony that we have, and we will close the hearing on House Bill 2401.